I just want to welcome everyone to our home buyer and state planning seminar this morning. As we see, we do have some more people walking in, but I am going to start because I just want us to run over time or listen and have to leave any of the information out. I want to first introduce myself. My name is Tatiana. I am a real estate agent. I've been practicing for 6 years, and this is my second time at it. But for me, most of what I do is to be a resource for people, and so I know that my people are doing the right way. And they're not missing out on any benefits or anything. So this seminar, I know a lot of people who are here this morning are not first-time home buyers. You probably already own a property. Have something for you as well. There's something in our community, we don't necessarily pay attention to, and that's estate planning, that's life insurance, that's securing your investment. O papai nós caiu, but solution that's what that is. We don't need, we don't need. That's something that's lost, and then your family is at risk of losing that investment. So we want to make sure that everyone understands. We do have Aaron here with us this morning, who is from Contour Mortgage. He's going to be talking to us about the process of buying, the process of becoming qualified. Se no Contour Mortgage is using la palavra, você se esforça, cara. Que só uma coisa, só por exemplo, a lanche, no turno de pessoas, por exemplo, a lanche plástica, cara, não tem nada a passar. We do have Sophie Franco, in the house class. Penny, she is going to talk about the necessities of the essential sunset as they plan for us. We're going to class how we can go in la quali pergunta é que salve na estamos o que estamos se vai no lixo não que fez o que estamos not only wealthy people need a will investment in the statement. So we're going to talk about that, and we do have a Carly who is going to discuss life insurance with us. Here, assurance de vie avec. But it's important. So we're going to do our participation. I'm going to invite you all to grasp that table to provide a copy and taking us questions. Sit down and comfortable and chat. This is going to be a conversation. So dialogue here. At any point in time, if you have a question, feel free to stop us. So we can ask your question. We don't want your question. We leave here without getting your questions answered, and no question is a question. So, there was passing on discussion, question, that you have a question. You can raise your hand for those of you attending on Zoom. Raise your hand or send your question in the chat. Ou deixa no chat lá, alguém que vai chegar não acaba fazer questão, quatro pessoas que lá são para fazer questão mesmo, e para uma questão que eu amo. So just ask whatever questions you have, and we're going to start back. So, does anybody have a question so far? No questions yet. Okay, great. It's our legal officer. He's going to tell us before I start. We're doing this in two languages. We're going to do Creole, we're going to do English, but just by a show of hands, and thinking we look like this room on Creole, or can we just run through in English? We okay in English so far? Or should we do Creole too? Creole? Okay. So
translate?
Yeah, I will translate.
Okay.
Pause.
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Hi guys, good morning. So I wanted to thank you, by the way, for letting us come. I wanted to start off by giving a little fun fact for you guys. So the top 10% of America, right? What do you guys think in regards to net worth? What net worth do you need to be the top 10%? Anyone know? Yes?
Pour américain, dans 10%, pourcentage qui ou américain, ça vous pensez network mind management, but pour l'argent besoin, quantité l'argent besoin, ça vous pensez vous avez besoin pour l'argent.
Anyone? Don't be shy. 250? Anyone else? No? 500. 500. Okay. So out of that 500, right? 65% of the 10%, their net worth is real estate, equity, right? And this is everything all together: assets, equity, how much money you have in a 401k account, how much you have in a pension. It's 500,000 to be the top 10% of America, right?
So network.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Si c'est bien beaucoup. Quand c'est bien mis ça inclut dans ça, numéro quantité de balance, c'est 500 000. Well, right? That's how much it's done again. 600 000 dans bien. Bien inclut, what things are included in that quantité?
Equity in your property.
Éviter dans caillou, comme si soit acheter caille là, equity, soit acheter caille là, pour 50 000. Et puis, avant de acheter caille là, dans 2 ans, caille là, puis on va leur demander à 300 000 dollars. Combien de fois éviter qu'on oublie? Combien de fois valeur pas oublier? 50 000. Parce que vous devez c'est 50 000. Et puis, là, c'est ce qui gagne en sorte et puis là, avec valeur
Pension and 401k.
Pension et 401k. Nous, nous avons 401k travail. Tout ça, fait partie, fait partie network so bien.
Now, I'm sure that you guys have a lot of family friends that purchased a home, 10, 20, 30 years ago in Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau County for 150,000 or 250,000, and now their property is worth 1,800,000, 900,000. So all of those family members that you guys have are top 10% of the United States.
So you want to know who so you'll get your tax 6%, tax 6%,
Okay. So getting back to I get a lot of questions. When is the best time to buy a home, right? And I always say it's always best time to buy a home. Right? So being a homeowner, not only do you own an asset, right? But it's also a pension because you're gaining equity every year, year after year after year. So a lot of, baby boomers and all of them, they can have a pension through the equity of their property. So becoming a first-time home buyer, right? I'll go through the basics of a document checklist, right? This way we can make you guys the top 10% of America, right? So the basic document checklist is 2-year tax returns, 2-year W-2s, and 1 month of pay stubs, right? 2-year W-2s. Yep. 1 month banks, 2 months bank statements, and and 30 days of pay stubs.
This is important parce que là où touché, là où yo passé à la pour déjà, c'est pas un travail où fait si il y a pas compris. It's not under the table you actually get paid when you go to the CW behind the side hustles. Si c'est pas une pay stubs selon sous chèque ou compagnie qui paye ou pas chèque ou de toucher taxe ou pas passer avec ou pas compris. So sous chèque ou toucher chaque semaine dans le travail on fait 30 jours. Sous toucher chaque quinzaine, c'est deux sous chèque what you get paid bi-weekly to pay stubs because that's the monthly stubs. You have a question? How about the kind of that part of the
So,
est-ce que considérez est-ce qu'on va compter ça comme income?
okay.
Et là, je suis sûr que vous bougez.
So when it, yeah, I know what it is. I know what it is. So when it comes to Susu, everything has to be documented.
So, si c'est un sous-sous, tout va être obligé de vous.
Everything. So we would need like an Excel sheet or however you guys document it. We would need all of that. So when you make that large deposit, whichever month you're getting because that's what usually happens, right? When you get that big deposit, they're going to ask where it came from. So we're going to need all the Susu information. I think it's 12 months we would need. So we would need to show all the data of all the money coming in and how much you took out.
So, si c'est pour un sous-sous, il y a besoin, c'est mon sous-sous-là, avec un dossier, côté tout l'argent est rentré, combien de projet, tout ça a besoin de monter tout ce qu'on a passé. So, il y a besoin de tout, et chiffre ça, il y a sur papier, pour checker pour capable monter ce sous-là.
Now, when it comes to a side hustle, what is example? Okay. And that's, you wouldn't be claiming that on your taxes, right? Okay. So when it comes to that, there's different types of programs that you could qualify for, that we don't look at tax returns. We don't look at last 2-year tax returns. We don't look at W-2s or anything like that. We would just look at 12 months bank statements of you making deposits, if you're making those deposits, and we could take those 12 months and average it.
So, on va faire ça, si c'est un travail ou gagner, si c'est aussi non ou bien si c'est travail ou whatever it is, si c'est chauffeur marché courrier, non pas toucher, ils ont sous-chèque, c'est pas un compagnie qui paye, gagner pour moi, ils vont mettre là-dedans, ils vont payer. Parce que comme ça, ils vont pas toucher, pas mettre le taxe. You don't claim them on your taxes parce que vous avez sous-chèque, vous avez W-2. C'est cash money pour toucher. So, là, c'est un programme qui va mettre là-dedans, côté où on a des taxes.
Yeah. Any other questions so far? I'll start with you. I chose her first. Okay. Would you, so last 2-year tax returns, W-2, are you 1099 or self-employed? Just 1099? Okay. So then we would just need the last 2-year 1099s. Yeah. But
So, c'est si vous avez mentionné papier de taxe ou bien dossier de taxe, il doit être mentionné outside of the W-2s qui est à la loi. C'est pas self-employed, c'est pas capable. If c'est 1099 touché, that's really it. C'est W-2s, c'est lui-même qui montre qu'il faut toucher le travail.
yeah. So, yeah, that's the basic. We also have 1 year. So there's a lot of different products that we have that aren't, conforming, I guess you could say, the standard. So we could do 1 year 1099s as long as you've been doing it for 5 years, then we can do that. So there's a lot of different products that, I can stand here and go through all of them, but it'll be too much information,
Il y a plusieurs programmes qui sont appliqués pour appliquer. Si vous travaillez peut-être sur une business card, et c'est 1099 touché de self-employed, vous pouvez faire avec ça dans notre programme qui va être en place. Comme c'est même l'argent que vous touchez chaque année, il y a fait un tirage chaque 5 ans, il y a gardé l'histoire 5 ans passés. Donc, il y a différents programmes qui sont capables d'entrer là-dedans, qui sont capables d'approuver si on travaille.
Yeah. And your question?
So, you said like an Excel sheet to like
Yeah.
name all the participants.
Yeah, however you guys document it. Yeah.
Dates and
I'm sure it's long, right? It's a bunch of pages. Yeah. Sure.
Let me put the money in before the 2 months that they're looking at.
Then I wouldn't need to ask. No questions.
So, that's what eu queria fazer com você, não painel, yeah, if been in July, if you've been possibly in July 2024, mais puis assinou en janvier, c'est Dieu m'a fait attaquer, c'est pour moi, c'est décembre, attaquer, est-ce que ça tombe pour la dit non, pas plus de détails, ça va encore parce que c'est temps, faire quantité de temps que besoin sous le panel. How much time does the money need if you make a large deposit?
So depending on, what do you mean by that? Like,
how far in advance would she have to make the deposit?
For me to ask a question about it? So there's a program 1 month or 2 months. It just depends on your whole situation because everyone's unique. So we have a program that only looks at 1 month, but I usually say 2 months just because it's just basic. But if you come to me and you say, I made a deposit, 2 months ago, I'll tell you to wait a couple weeks or however long, just so that those funds are in. This way they don't ask any questions. The less questions, the better.
Chaque monde, même si vous travaillez même côté avec tous ces CNO, tous ces infirmières, chaque monde va avoir la différence. Financier, c'est différent. So là, les conseillers qui font pas me mettre, ils font pas qui demandent 1 mois, ils font pas qui 2 mois, ils vont juste se placer, là-bas, ils vont embaucher. Éviter problème, demander tout. So, si utiliser je tiens au travail avec des outils, fait que je ne pas de ça, parce que moi, je vais entendre par semaine pour moi, soutenir la journée. That's tout là avant.
Okay. Any question? Any other? Yeah. That's fine. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Got a house, and you don't get approved for that amount. What could I do to increase that? Is there anything that can be done?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, sorry. I'm running through it.
Try to.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have to pay that they have to come back. You have to pay some people. And they go back and you can bet. That's what you have to go this one. Let's say you don't approve for the amount of money. Okay. I got you. So I can go to 600 dollars. Maybe say 600 dollars. How about that?
So when it comes to that, the first thing you should do is talk to a lender. This way they can run the application. Just in general, even if you're not buying a home now, you should talk to a lender just to get a peace of mind of what you can qualify for. And then me, Edwin, or Mario would tell you exactly what steps to take to get qualified to where you need to be. Either get a cosigner, reduce debt, or just put more down payment down, put more down. Sorry.
So, si c'est une situation comme ça, même si on sous-marché là, bon, l'idéal, c'est commencer par avec le monde qui fait. Si on prend ou bien mortgage broker, il sort sur le professeur, il doit faire une présentation avec lui. Mais on peut faire ou même si on dit, mais qui considère comme pas si c'est une l'argent, on peut bien travailler financièrement avec pour totalement, on dit, mais ça. Son l'autre métier sous l'homme avec vous, son conseiller au besoin, ou bien si c'est quelqu'un que vous pouvez suivre, qui ne va pas compter dans l'argent chaque différence sociale avec ton observatoire. Ok, on va trouver tout encore, mais ça va compliquer ça.
Yeah, because you might not qualify now, but you'll get the right steps to get to the number you want to be at, Any other questions for now? Yeah.
Is it a good idea to always stay below the amount that the pwosesis number that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so what I usually say, because I have clients that qualify for 900,000, but then I'll tell them the payment. And they go, oh, I actually don't want to go this high. The most important thing is not how much you can qualify for, but what the payment is going to be, Interest rate, taxes, you might find a home in Queens that's $800,000, but the taxes are $5,000. And then you come to Long Island, you might find in Suffolk County, you might find a home for, 500, but the taxes are 13,000, So it just really depends on the situation. But I always tell them the payment, because they'll go see a house for, whatever the number is. And I'll say, before you go to a house, let me know. This way I could price out a number for you. Oh, I went too fast. Oh, okay. Because before I tell them to go to a property, I tell them to call me first. This way they know the payment, not just the number. Oh, this one's going for $750. Let me just go there. But if I tell you, oh, the payment's, $5,000 or $5,500, now it's a different way they're looking at it. Okay, this house is $5,500 a month instead of me just looking at it as, 600 or just the number of a purchase price,
So you have a whole above. I'll give you an example. Taxes.
Right.
Taxes makes a difference in your payment. That's a tax, so basically, même si on a toujours bon above, ça peut s'échapper avec le logement, il y aura des avec vous demandez combien bon déjà appelé chaque mois. Because toujours on a 500 000 dollars, mais ça y est, à vous 6 000 dollars. Motor organization de valor, mas tudo não cai por taxa de lá, não vou aqui já para não que já acaba, vou que sai do que eu não vou lá. So, se ele já qual ali, o não cai, cheguei a ver avec nous, avec nous, donc ça, si on met à la maison, met détail là, relation Acha, qui peut devenir ça et chaque mois, ça peut chaque mois dans mon déjà, si vous mettez ça, laissez ça, on va déterminer si bon, vous avez là, et vous taxez ou bien ça.
Yep. Okay. Right. Right. So when it comes to that, I mean, you would just need more income at that point, or you would have to put more money down. Right. So when I write a pre-approval, I'll always say, what are the taxes? And then what is the purchase price? And how much are you putting down? Right? Because I've had situations where the taxes are 25,000. And I'm like, you're way out of your budget. You're not even close. Even though the last house you saw was 900 and this one is 900, but the last one, the taxes were, 16,000. This time it's 25. It's not going to work unless you get a co-signer, family friend that'll help you out, whatever it is, Yeah.
If you have an agent like me, someone, sometimes you have to think out of the box. So, only like you don't know what and then you say, well, that's not going to work. This is why you go to the agent, actually reasonable. Ele está para você aí uma dessas, ele é So then you should try, as long as it fits those numbers, avec your fichier,
It's really the monthly payment that you have to be comfortable with. You know, that's the main thing. Any other questions for now? No? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, they're buying the house. Oh, sorry. They're buying the house.
Okay.
If they can afford to, even the taxes is very high.
Right.
They'll be able to pay the tax by himself without the mortgage.
Like, what do you mean? Like, say that again?
Okay, the person buying the house.
Okay.
For instance, it could be in the beginning, they put the tax in the mortgage payment.
Okay.
And after that, the person figured, okay, I can pay the tax on my own, separately.
Oh, separately?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that, but they're still going to average the 12 months. They're going to still use that monthly payment for your taxes. So if you want to pay it separate, you can do that, but they're still going to, let's say your taxes are $12,000 for the year, and you want to pay that separately, they're still, in the calculation, they're still going to use $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because for anything aspect, we have no la inclui anyway. Même si vous payez cash, même si vous payez supporté, la inclui les calculateurs avec un compte, les observer avec formule là. Parce que l'argent va changer, l'argent de côté, sous l'argent que vous observez de là, mais c'est pas toujours le même genre de moi. So, il a servi avec une formule là pour déterminer qui continue comme ça.
So, yeah.
A first-time buyer need like some help from the government for the loan.
Yep.
But like they get like what's common
First-time home buyer?
home buyer.
Yeah.
But if someone already had a house, need to co-sign for that person, what's going to happen?
So they have a program. It's New York State has a program, Seminè. So it's for first-time home buyers, right? And they offer a $15,000 grant. Okay. So that grant, so if you get a co-signer, let's say you get that property, right? When it comes to grants, there's a lot of income limits, right? They don't want you to pretty much make over a certain amount, depending on how many people you have in your household. Okay. So it depends on the county. It depends where it is. But New York State offers this to anybody, everybody. As long as you haven't owned a home in 3 years, you're technically a first-time home buyer. So if you bought a house 5 years ago and you sold it a year later, you're technically a first-time home buyer today. You know? So you can use that program, you know? So when it comes to co-signing, I have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure if they are not a first-time home buyer, the co-signer, they can still co-sign for you.
But that person who's going to buy the house for the first time, he's going to lose that opportunity for the loan or to be qualified for HUD.
Oh, like because they already own a home?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with that gets a little tough because income limits come into place, you know? I think in Suffolk County, I think the income limit for a 3-person household, which a 3-person household, it could be a husband, wife, and a daughter. That's not even, that's like 2 years old. That still counts as that. I believe it's 189,000. You can't go above that, you know? So if you have multiple people on the loan, it's going to be above that at that point, you know? It's very hard to stay under that.
Si yo bin bezwen konsaner, men konsaner a peut-être c'est papa, men maman, besoin utiliser un family, konsaner, est-ce que ça fait pour your first time buyer, est-ce que ça fait perdre bénéfice first time buyer? So, basically, low value. People that first time buyer, you get that deeply and from. So, c'est des gens combien de monde qui dans la acquisition household qui est whatever it is, mais quand c'est comme maximum, elle a capable de toucher anyway. So, plus vous nous mettez, c'est plus l'income. Ou à monter, ou à dépasser, pas dépasser critères, first time buyer pour la beginning. But doesn't work the same way, like let's say they do an FHA loan, and they can just do 3.5% down. Would that?
Yeah, FHA loan, you could only have one FHA loan unless the property is 100 miles away. Then you could do 2 FHA loans. But you would have to move to the next property. Yeah.
So if mom, hold on one second. So if mom wants to help or wants to co-sign with it, and mom already owns a property, the property that she owns or the property that they're buying has to be 100 miles away from her original property.
Yeah, so let's say I have an FHA property right now, right? But I'm moving to upstate New York. And I can go to upstate New York and buy another FHA property as long as it's 100 miles away. So you can have 2 FHA loans.
So même si mom actually no longer partie et pour ça ce là, pour pas planifier FHA. Well, I have actually only some 100 some miles away.
Yeah.
They don't know about. That's what I'm saying. So, since I want to see two level high, your FHA, but if my house is already long, is that wrong?
No.
So, I it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Si yo apri avec FHA pour 2 fois, il va faire aucune différence. Mais si I maman your mortgage FHA suite, the next house will have to pay for FHA has to be.
Yeah. For 2 FHAs. Did that answer the question a little bit?
Yes.
Oh, it did? Okay. Okay.
I think we should ask that.
Yeah, I was.
If I'm co-signing, if I'm co-signing for someone else and I'm not a first-time home buyer, and then a year later I want to buy a house, does that mean I'm no longer a first-time home buyer? I think that's what she was asking.
Correct. Yeah.
So I don't
Because
get
your
those
name is
benefits.
on a mortgage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you.
So he has a very valid question. See women, open up a high, coming up a high, if you know they can go side, maybe people actually high that. We are seeing more in that. No, that this one strong side. We are not going to invest in this first time buyer.
But
Unless I wait 3 years and then I'm technically a first-time home buyer
correct.
again.
But they also. But you don't need to go FHA 3.5% down every time for a first-time home buyer. You could do 3% down conventional as a first-time home buyer. So you don't have to go FHA.
Just as a first-time home buyer. O capaz ali convencional, existe uma mortgage. É FHA que conventional, existe uma conventional lá. O capaz ali conventional, avec 3% dela. So, tout ça, o capaz, c'est là qu'on se dit avec avec une population, c'est les sortes qu'on va capter, pour qu'ils soient qualifiés
Anything else for now before I go into investments?
Quick question.
Yeah.
All right. I am thinking about buying a second home
Okay.
out of state. Like,
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I fully understand. So I'm thinking about buying a home in the Carolina, right?
Okay.
So I already have a house.
Okay.
So will I still be able to apply for a first-time home buyer loan?
Like an FHA? No, not a first-time home buyer home,
Okay.
but you could do FHA.
Okay.
Because FHA technically isn't a first-time home buyer product.
Okay.
You know, but you can buy an FHA. You just have to move there. Because FHA, you have to live there. You can't have an investment.
So when you feel more down in FHA,
Okay.
c'est pas nécessairement c'est pour seulement lié. On a bon high et puis des qualités pour le FHA, mais the problem is all appliqué dans high pour FHA, il y a beaucoup de choses pour FHA. From oublier.
Okay.
1 year.
And
So when you move there, right, they're going to ask you, okay, you're going to move there. Now let me see some paperwork from your employer. Are you going to move there? Are you going to transfer there? Why are you going there? They're going to ask that question,
Okay.
you know? Because then everyone would just say, oh yeah, let me go there, and then never move there, you know?
So as far as loan, what would be my best option?
For a second property,
Yeah.
depending on your income, is it going to be an investment?
Yeah.
Possibly. Okay. I mean, if it depends on your income. You know,
Okay.
I would have to look at everything. It's tough to say.
Okay.
But you're most likely going to go conventional.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will need
You could do
20% or 10.
You could do, I think, 15 second home.
Okay.
Yeah. For a second home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mwen prale sou même question Francky an, si ke mwen gon ka un premier kay, et puis mwen vle acheter yon deuxième kay avec plusieurs opportunités, like, tako gen plusieurs appartements pour me faire business. Ki avantage mwen gen, tako nan tax, ou bien ki jan ke mwen ka fè ça?
So if I already own
Mhm.
and I'm looking for
Mhm.
an investment property that might have only one unit just for, to rent out.
Right.
What are the benefits of the tax benefits in owning a second home or investment property?
I mean, yeah, for sure. When it comes to buying an investment property, you know, it depends on the situation, where it is, how much it is. It's tax benefit wise. I mean, your taxes on that property are most likely going to be a little higher just because it's an investment and you're making money on it. But you're building equity. That's the most important thing. But when you're buying an investment home, they have new products, which I've been doing so much now. They don't look at literally nothing. All they want to see is 1 to 2 months worth of bank statements, depending on your credit score, and 20% down. As long as the rent covers the mortgage, then you're good. So if the mortgage is $4,000 and the rent is $4,000, that's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. They won't ask for anything else.
20% down, you said?
20% down, and they have a product 15% down investment, and they don't look at any documents. But you don't want to go to 15% down up because the rates are higher. You know, you want to stay at 20%. The more you put down, the better the terms. That's for document checklist. Okay. Do you want me to say it one by one and you can repeat it? Yeah. So ID social.
Identification. What kind of like state ID, government ID?
Yeah, government ID, passport, state ID. Driver's license, passport. Yeah. That's it on that, right? Or should I? Okay.
Is that?
Yeah. I mean, no. It's,
So that's
yeah. Yeah. Last 2 year W-2s, last 2 year tax returns.
Sous-chèque.
30 days of pay stubs and last 2 month bank statements.
All the pages, it doesn't matter if it's like or not.
Whichever one you're using the money, whatever funds you're using for the down payment, that's all they want to see. Unless you transfer. Like if you have, let's just say 50,000 in one account and 50,000 in the other account, and you made a transfer last month, 25,000 to 25,000, then we're going to want to see that. They're going to want to see every large deposit. That's why I usually tell people, if you're going to get a gift from a family member, always make it a personal check, even if it's a gift, because then we don't need to dig too deep into it. But they always ask for 2 months. They're gonna look at where the money came from. If it came from that account, they're gonna say, okay, give me the other account and show me 2 months. Always.
So the down payment was also.
Everything.
Mais souvent, lorsqu'on a un crédit, il y a
Yeah.
Give them the money.
Mhm.
The money sit in their bank. So what's gonna happen?
So with FHA, right, they're going to pretty much they're going to ask for 1 month of the donor's bank statement, right? They just want to see 1 month, because what they were doing years ago is I would have, $10,000 cash, and I would give it to my cousin and say, hey, just put 10,000 in your bank and then transfer it to me and write a gift, So they caught on to that.
Okay.
So now they require 1 month for FHA, but conventional, they don't ask for that month. But it has to be a personal check, because if you do a bank transfer, the way it looks on a bank account, it just has account numbers. So when I see it, I don't know where it came from.
Okay.
So they ask me for that other account. But if it's a personal check, there's a name on there, and the amount. So they'll say, okay, give me the canceled check, and we write a gift letter. This is from, my uncle, 10,000 from this account going into my account at this date.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I always say personal check,
Thank
because
you.
we want to avoid questions,
All right.
Ça pourrait, c'est une de la forme de l'argent pour des transactions, pour vous aider avec un chèque personnel dans la carrière. Si c'est effectivement à faire, c'est on effectivement effectivement il y a demandé pour le voyer au moins à l'époque pour que chèque associé. Mais si c'est conventionnel, ça dépend. Si on a couvert, c'est conventionnel, il y a pas de détails. Les autres formes de gestion transfert, parce que l'aide de transfert, c'est le uniquement là, c'est chiffre qui parle seulement à l'université, donc l'aide qui a gardé au Canada après. Donc la raison, c'est que c'est de la transfert, donc il y a attaché à elle. Ça fait une décision, non pas pour pas l'argent, mais juste son chèque personnel, et dans cet chèque là, il y a fait écrit en lettre, pour vous dire qu'il y a payé avec les cartes, des moments tel cadeau, pour faire un cadeau,
Any other questions? No? I'm good? All right, cool.
So if you don't have any questions, immediately for Arnold.
Wait, we just got one more.
One more question after this, we're going to move on to the next segment. We're going to report information out, and then si on question, on va faire question, write it down, and we'll come back and I'll give you to ask questions.
So when it comes to a gift, is there any sort of tax implication or penalties with that?
No. No gift.
Si son cadeau, si son l'argent pour cadeau, est-ce qu'ils vont être pénalisés tax-wise si on a un cadeau là?
Yeah, I've never had an issue with that.
Is there a limit that you can give you?
Depending on the program. For investments, there's a limit. But if it's a first-time home buyer, you could gift everything. Yeah.
For investments, ils sont deuxième cas, on va acheter pour faire business. Là, peut-être
Yeah, if you do like a state program, they just want 1% down. That's the minimum. They want to see something from the buyer. Yeah, it's usually 1%. They want something.
Where you live, you'll
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anything? That's it? All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Moving was to feel like it's not a video and then after that, and obviously, tout le monde qui l'a disponible à lui-même, pour gagner un contrat dans la recevoir. The call that set up a consultation afterwards, I said, they get it. It's so hard to do it because they're not able to happen. So, what kind of point of this conversation? So our next presenter now is David Michael Savoga. Technically, in real estate. Now, I don't know why she left us. We thought that we want to final pro, but I think they have to say, because it's something that we miss out on a lot. One, she caiu. Nous-mêmes, nous connaissons pas le travail dessus, nous-mêmes, nous travaillons dessus, nous-mêmes, nous travaillons dessus, nous et là, nous sommes à la capacité. What happens in that house? Si vous parlez d'un petit avant, qui s'est avec Kayla, est-ce que automatiquement, on joue avec Kayla, c'est pas la partie.
I guess I'll thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Are you gonna? I will. I'll yell. Oh, okay. So I'm here to talk to you about estate planning. And estate planning is one of the most important things that you can do, because when you spend your life working hard and saving your money so that you can have your down payment to buy your house, and then you pay your mortgage and you do repairs on your house and all that stuff all your life, you don't want to lose that, right? You want to either use it for yourself or you want to be able to leave that for your family as your legacy.
So, ça l'a parlé matin, so très important, c'est, héritage, planification pour héritage. Parce que, like I said, nous travaillons en pile, nous sommes pour nous faire des positions, pour nous acheter cailloux. Alors, on fait tout ça, on fait des années, on va payer pour nos cailloux. Vous voulez make sure que si on va être passé, cailloux pas perdu, petit pour nous pas perdu, cailloux on connaît, il sécurisé pour famille dans la vie, si on va être passé.
Okay. And so many people don't know about estate planning, or they find it so confusing that they don't do anything about it. Only 33% of Americans have an estate plan. That means 70% of Americans are at risk of losing the assets that they work so hard to get.
Il y a un pile monde qui simplement pas connaît qui ça qui planification pour ta faire. Et puis il y a un pile monde tout, yo pas faire parce que yo peur. Bagay tellement compliqué. Ils viennent faire gêner, ils ont déjà quitté ça. Si on regarde les calculations, c'est 33% américains qui ont un plan en place. So, ça veut dire que 70% américains n'ont pas de plan en place du tout. Et eux-mêmes, tout ça, ils travaillent pour l'IA, à risque pour perdre.
Sure, that's what I was going to do next. Thank you. So estate planning is basically putting together a plan for all of the things that you have for your life and for the life that are going to be there when you're no longer here.
So, there's not really, pas un monde qui a servi pour nous traduire ça et ça fait nous aller avec plan héritage, right? Plan héritage, qui s'allie, c'est un plan pour mettre en place pour si un bagage a passé, pour connaître, mais qui côté ça va aller, connaître tout bien mieux, tout ça travail pour yo apprêter en famille.
So how many people drive here?
Combien de la conduit?
Okay. Do you guys have car insurance?
Est-ce que nous gagnons assurance machine? Yeah.
Okay. Can somebody tell me why you have car insurance?
Pour qui ça? Est-ce qu'on peut dire pour qui ça ou gagne assurance machine?
Yeah, I have to have it.
That's the right answer. Just in case.
So, oui, c'est un loyer, mais puis mon réponse, c'est pour en cas que on bagage arrivé ou gagner assurance machine.
So you may get into an accident and you want to make sure that there's something in place to replace what you have. So, hold on. Okay. You also may not get into an accident, right?
Okay. So, ou capable de faire un accident machine peut-être, ou bien ou capable de faire un accident machine, mais vous voulez assurer qu'on bagage ou qu'on sécurité en place pour si ça t'arrive.
Now, does anybody know the percentage of human beings that will actually die?
Est-ce que vous qui connaît pourcentage humain mourir.
That's right, 100%. So why would we go around we have a car, we make sure we have life insurance. We have a house, we make sure we have homeowners insurance. Yes, we're required, but we also don't want to take the chance. Why would we go around not having a plan in place for our life when we're 100% sure that one day we're going to die?
So, you demande combien de monde? Because c'est pour ça que nous actually mourir là. Mais all over the place. C'est 100% parce que nous tous bonjour, nous allons mourir. Même gens ou conduire ou gain assurance machine pour si on bagaille ta passer. Ou gain caille là ou gain assurance caille pour si on bagaille ta passer. Pour qui ça nous choisit pour nous vivre nous, ça nous va attirer bien nous tout dans même façon pour si on bagaille ta passer ou bien pour le bagaille la passer.
Now, in our community, our Haitian community, our Caribbean community, we think sometimes because we plan to protect ourselves, we plan for our life, that means that we're going to die. No, the same way that you have car insurance does not mean you're going to get into an accident. Just because you put a plan in place, an estate plan, does not mean you're planning to die.
So, dans la communauté par nous, and I've heard it, nous avons dit, si ma chère assurance, si me fait plan ça pour le mourir et mourir, c'est relé ma brûlé dans mon avis sous moi. Et pourtant, il va vrai, est-ce qu'on va acheter assurance machine, est-ce qu'on va acheter, ou va assurer là, ou va planifier pour un bagage fait, mais pour faire plan, ou mettez bagage en place pour si, ou bien pour laisser ça passer, ou qu'on est en sécurité.
Right. So there are some things that we put in place for an estate plan to protect what we have and to make sure that if we're not here, it goes to our loved ones.
So, il y a des bagages nous mettons, nous inclus dans le plan héritage là, pour nous protéger, ça nous gagne, et pour nous assurer que l'on bagage à passer, tout bagage à les joindre, famille nous, moun que nous aimons.
So we have a question.
So I kind of understand the state aspect of it, but like, what happens if someone creates an estate and they pass away, but they leave behind a lot of debt? Don't the people that they owe take the estate or take from the estate so the family doesn't understand everything what's left on the estate? They owe more than what's in the estate?
Want to translate that or you want to go?
So, nous comprenons, question, c'est nous comprenons les protéger bien qu'on gagne. Mais, et si l'homme mourit, et puis il quitte en pile dette? What was the question after what they did? That doesn't.
It was just the fact that like the family member not benefit from a lesson that if the family member that passed away left by debt.
Okay.
The people whether it's credit card debt, student loans, whatever, they go to the estate and they take from it. What's left for the family?
Got it. Comment famille en fait bénéficier si moun nan gagne plan héritage en place, mais là moun ni quitte en plus dette. C'est là, moun qui met des choses. On va collecter l'argent, on va prendre l'argent. Pour à qui ça famille arrêter.
All right, so that absolutely happens if you have zero estate planning in place, right?
So ça passe certainement si on va un plan héritage en place du tout.
So let me tell you about the different tools. So one is a will. When you have a will in place, a will is instructions to the court to say, hey, this is what I want to happen with my stuff if I pass away.
So, il y a plusieurs outils pour mettre en place. Premièrement, c'est testament. Testament, c'est un document légal qui dit, côté là, en tribunal là, l'aime mourir, mais qui semble passer, mais qui côté bien mieux aller.
But a will is not the best estate plan because it's basically a lawsuit against your estate for the benefit of your creditors, like you said.
So, là, le testament, et pas plus meilleure façon gain pour sécuriser, parce que moun qui ou doué la vini pour toucher l'argent quand même anyway.
Right. So the court leaves the case open for those people to come and basically make a claim to say, okay, they owed me something, I want to get mine first.
So testament là, mais tribunal la capable dit, yo quitté dossier à ouvrir pour leur ou gon compagnie que moun décédé a doué, li gen opportunité pour lui venir dire oh comme toucher l'argent pas moi.
But there are things that you can do to avoid that, such as life insurance, which we're going to hear about, and there's also something called a trust.
So, il y a plusieurs bagages à faire pour éviter le problème ça yo. Un exemple c'est assurance de vie que nous parler de ça tout à l'heure et dans l'autre c'est ça relève un trust pour capable établir.
So a trust is a similar thing where you're basically saying, okay, if I die, I want my stuff to go to my family. I want my stuff to go to my children. But a trust does not go through the court system, and a trust is also private.
So, trust là son document, son dossier, qui à peu près même genre avec testament, mais il pas passé par chemin tribunal là, il pas passé par chemin court là, il dit comme ça si on bagage a passé, mais ça me besoin pour mais au plus côté bien mieux pour aller pour rester dans mes familles, pour rester dans mes petits points, ça son bagage qui privé.
Right. So then the court doesn't have an opportunity to invite your creditors. If your creditors want to collect, they have to go to court and open the case. So most times they're not doing that, and you just by having a trust, you're avoiding them collecting on certain debt.
So, différence là, c'est que moun qui compagnie prédicateur ou bien debtors, les moun qui met dette yo pas une opportunité pour entrer pour yo dire oh m'a bien touché par le code là pas dit ouvert à tout le monde, m'a bien touché les plus souvent faut que yo commencer yo l'autre dossier dans code là pour yo aller pour yo ouais si yo capable joindre l'argent. Et bien de là yo pas même faire ça même so
it's too much money for them. It's not worth it.
Comme l'argent yo va dépenser pour yo faire ça. Il va voir ça pour entrer dans tout dossier ça.
So what things can be like under a trust? Like we put a home under a trust, a vehicle, bank accounts, like what things can you do? And let's say for instance you put a house in a trust, but the house, oh there's money that's owed on the house. The people that benefit from getting the house, do they have to pay whatever is owed? Like how does that work?
Okay. Qui sont capables d'inclure dans trust là? Qui sont capables de couvrir là-dedans? Est-ce que c'est là, si vous voulez l'argent sur là ou pas de l'argent sur là, c'est machine qui bien ou capable de couvrir en bas trust là?
Okay, so thank you for that question. The number one best way to own real estate is inside of a trust. And the reason for that is because even if you have real estate in multiple states or you want to leave your house to 4 kids, the best way to have it is in the trust because when you pass away, that trust becomes what's called irrevocable. And that just means that it can't be changed. So it's also protected for your kids. Like if they have lawsuits, if they have bills and everything, nothing can penetrate it and it's protected by the trust. So even if the kid has anything that's affecting their credit, there's no lien that's going to be able to be put on that house. So that's one of the best ways to protect, especially if something happens, unexpected. Sorry.
Nous t'en dépend ça, gratis chérie. Nous fini. That was a free nugget. So basically, puis meilleure façon pour moun gagner yon propriété, pour moun gagner yon kay, c'est pour lui gagner non yon trust, pas non li personnellement. Parce que notre trust là, malgré la lèvre nan vivant, l'aime mourir, trust là vient changer non irrevocable position. Pour n'y a pas de monde qui a changé. Pas de monde qui a fait bac là-dedans, pas de monde qui a fait rien avec. Même si petit moun yo désordre, yo pas kon gérer dette yo désordre avec l'argent yo, dette pa yo pas ka vinn attacher dans trust là. Si tout si m'gen tak petit. Yon pas bon, mais toi yo bon, ça pas bon pas ka vinn détruire ça là dans trust là. So l'hypothèque tout bagage.
So the other part of your question, let me just answer. You were saying that even if there's a mortgage on the house, can I still do it? So when it comes to a revocable trust that you would create during your life, that you can change, if you want to. If you want to sell the house, you can sell the house, or if you want to take money out the house, you can do that. When it comes to that, your mortgage company will not stop you from putting it in your revocable trust. Why? Because the law says they cannot stop you from doing that. You're allowed to do that.
So, question demandée en l'autre partie question, c'est que si vous avez un cas là, mais gon mortgage sur lui toujours, est-ce que je capable d'inclure dans trust là? Il dit oui, ou capable, mortgage là, banque qui gagne ligne dans ce cas là, pas qu'à contrôle, pas qu'à stop. Selon la loi DEA, yo pas qu'à stop pour faire ça pas dans equity, yo ou pas de droit créer trust là, malgré cas là, bon dette sur lui toujours.
Next question.
How much money do you need to open up a trust? And is there like a age limit? Like you have to be a certain age to open up a trust and invest that amount?
So, question c'est combien de corps vous besoin pour établir trust là est-ce que gon limite pour l'âge? Est-ce que gon minimum ou bien maximum pour l'âge pour nous, si son jeune moun ka chon kay, dans 20 combien de temps, est-ce qu'il est capable set up a trust?
So you can be 18 and open up a trust, right? There's people who are 18 who have businesses, who have, funds. You could be 18, if that's the minimum age. There is no minimum amount. However, I would say if you have over 100,000, that's a good place to think about doing a trust. And that's easy with real estate, with retirement, with life insurance, to have. Those are the other types of things you can put in your trust.
So, pour commencer, minimum l'âge pour gagner 18 ans. Il y a un pile jeune monde qui gagne business, ils commencent business à 18 ans, ils même capable de considérer pour set up a trust. Mais ça veut dire c'est si bien yo commencé arriver dans niveau il a dépassé $100,000, ça c'est un bon place pour commencer établir trust.
Yeah, and then so other assets, which what we call things of value that you can and should put in your trust. We said, your house, your retirement accounts, your insurance. You can put your bank accounts in the trust, your investment accounts. All of those things you can and should put in your trust to protect it.
L'autre bagage qu'on capable inclure dans trust là, j'en ai dit, l'autre bien que vous gagnez, l'autre bagage qui gagne valeur, oui, là, vous capable mettre pension là-dedans, vous capable mettre compte banque là-dedans, compte investissement là-dedans. On capable inclure tout bagage ça yo dans trust là ou si pour ta doué inclure dans trust là tout ça gain qui gain valeur.
I think she was asking like how much are the fees to start a trust.
Yeah, but I was actually asking.
Well, I'll answer that as your question. There's no, other than hiring a lawyer to pay for the trust, there is no annual fee. Like once you have the trust created and it's your trust, there's no annual fee to, keep that, going.
So, pas gagner l'argent pour payer chaque année pour établir pour qu'un trust là en effet. Mais celle bagay wap consulter avec un avocat, wap payer frais avocat. Et m'pa quoi l'état possible pour lui nous faire accompagner là parce que chaque monde différent, chaque case différent. There's not a flat rate, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's a flat fee, but it depends on what your personal circumstances.
Okay. Bon montant pour commencer avec avocat parce que chaque avocat a un frais parler, il y a une liste à parler pour commencer, mais ça dépend de la situation qui soit avec là-dedans.
So, let's say that you put your 401k in there. And your children are, 20, 30, they can't access that money until they reach 55, right? The 401k that's in the trust.
Yeah, so you're saying if the person passed away?
Yeah. Passed away. My question is, let's say you passed away, but I put my 401k in the trust for my children. My children are in their 30s, 40s. They can't touch that 401k, right? Because it's not the age limit to access the money unless they take it out on penalty, right?
Yeah, right.
So her question is, avec tout 401k, avec tout et compte pension, bon l'âge base, l'âge de base, ou obligé de arriver de l'âge là avant qu'à tirer l'argent sans pénalité. So lui demander si me gagne un 401k, si me gagne un compte pension, me couvrir dans trust là, est-ce que ça veut dire que petit moi yo pas capable d'accès à l'argent 401k, à l'argent pension, tout le temps yo pas arriver l'âge là.
So it doesn't work that way when it comes to the inheritance of the retirement account, I believe, and each program is different. So you kind of have to go by the rules of that 401k or pension or 401b or whatever, 403b. I believe they have 10 years to collect on that money. So what they can do is take whatever it is, if it's a lump sum or if it's a payment, and they can convert it to like a personal, like either IRA or other type of similar investment and not get a penalty. But the penalty portion really doesn't apply because now it's an inheritance, so it's almost tax free.
So say inheritance. Eritaj. I'm using the word all day. So, comme c'est Eritaj lié, c'est pas même loi. Malgré tout programme différent pour calculer pour qui programme, pension, qui loi pour régulation pension, mais là, ça, minimum, là, c'est pour nous, mettre pension, pour lui-même pas payer frère ou pénalité s'il prend tirer l'argent au bonheur. Mais si mon n'a pas mourir, qu'on y a l'argent c'est venu pour petit li, son héritage li, il pas suivre même loi encore parce que même loi l'âge parce que ça c'est héritier la héritier bénéfice la mort maman. Il va pas.
Parce que les gens si on mourir, madame ne peut pas héritier tout dans madame n'a pas
So again, yes, there are different rules. It depends on the plan, and spouses also are treated different than children. So that you have to follow whatever the rules are.
And those things, ça, il y a différents programmes, il y a des gens qui gagnent un plan pension, ou whatever it is, savings là. Même si tu as mouru, madame ni ou bien mari ni pas qu'à toucher l'argent, tout le temps il va arriver dans un certain âge. Tout ça, c'est bagaille pour regarder yo, l'on a consulté, l'on a consultation, l'on a ouvert compte, because qui bénéficie de nos bagages si mourir et puis moun nan obligé de temps combien de temps avant de toucher l'argent. Ça, c'est pour même l'on a ouvert compte pour make sure que si son bénéfice bien quitté pour famille, I need to make sure that les mourir, you're capable actually bénéficier l'argent. So it's all different.
Hi.
Stop, you're making me blush.
Question. Just find out if it's self-employed, can we put our whole business system in a trust?
Wonderful question.
Pour moun qui gagne business, right? Pour nous-mêmes qui gagne restaurant, ou bien nous gagne business, panneau personnel, chauffeur machine, whatever it is, est-ce que nous capables de mettre tout business là dans trust là?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. You absolutely can and you absolutely should put your business inside of a trust. And what that does is if something happens to you, whoever you put as the person who's going to run the business will now have the authority, the permission to run the business. And the business doesn't have to just die, you know. There are things that need to happen. People need to get paid. Bills need to get paid. So you want to have somebody in place to be able to do those things. And then you can have the language, specific language in the trust to say, okay, this person could take care of this business, and this is the role and the responsibilities they can.
Okay. Réponse c'est oui. Ou supposé ou ta dû inclure business dans notre trust tout. Parce que si ou ta vinn mourir, qu'on y a faut business à continuer. Souvent employé qui travaille avec ou pour moun toucher, pour bill payer. Notre trust tout va mettre ou alloquer ou petit avec toute langue légale yo. Qui rôle moun nan a joué, qui responsabilité moun nan a gagné pour continuer gérer business. Parce qu'on va pas travailler pour un business, ou build, ou bâtir business pour mourir, business pour mourir avec. C'est la même chose.
That's the number one reason why small businesses fail, is that somebody got sick or somebody died.
C'est plus pour raison qu'il y a un pile business petit que yo vinn mourir parce que les moun nan mourir, bien les moun nan malade, business pour mourir, yo pas un plan en place. Pour qui vous dit, mais qui est ce monde qui va prendre place, mais qui va la payer.
Yes, absolutely. We do all types of estate planning.
So, si vous avez une question ou un business, vous pouvez aller, vous pouvez parler avec vous parce que bureau par là, vous faites ça.
You had a question here? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just want to tell you guys, hope you capture all the information because New York State, or whatever state you live in, they have a plan if you have a lack of habit, right? So I guess the resounding theme that I'm getting from this is if you fail to plan, New York State has a plan for you, you won't like their plan at all. So let's be proactive and take action and plan ahead, right? And so far, what I've heard from the professionals that have spoken, they've been spot on, right? So I deal with business owners and I come across this often. They hurt, they get sick, they get backsore, they have family working with business, and fails to plan. Fails to plan, you plan to fail.
You gonna say that in prayer? So what before you clap him, what he said was, I want to put this in, I do want to say this. So, si ou même ou pas bâti un plan, État New York a bâti un plan pour vous. Et le bâti plan, c'est pas un plan ou à remettre. Si ou pas ranger à faire, yo même y a ranger à faire pour vous, et qui est-ce qui a bénéficié? Yo même.
Yeah, that was. So, oh, more questions?
Wait, Cliff, did you ask your question?
Oh, you didn't ask yours. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. You have the mic. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Can you go over the difference between grantor, grantee, trustee, and beneficiary?
Sure. So in the trust, there are certain roles, right? So you have the oh, sorry, did you want to go to that? Okay. In the trust, you have certain roles. You have the person who's creating the trust is called the grantor or the trustor, right? You have the person who's going to be in charge of the trust, which is called the trustee. And that could be you, or that could be somebody else who you choose, or somebody else who comes in after you. Then you have the beneficiary. That's the person who's going to benefit from the trust. So just because you put somebody's name as the trustee to be responsible and be in charge of the trust doesn't mean that they are also a beneficiary. The beneficiary is the only people who are going to receive from the trust if you were to pass away.
So these are legal terms. Des termes légaux, qui différence bien un grantor, grantee, trust or trustee. Or là, c'est moun qui crée bagay. C'est moun qui va recevoir là, basically. Okay. But these types of terms, c'est mot law bâti plan. Dans tout document yo, and of course law chita avec lui, la expliqué tout ça, what it is. Tout mot yo, tout parole, tout langage yo, qui ça yo veut dire, qui ça yo pas. Okay. Hold on. Anne-Marie,
You passed the mic already?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. 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 So you basically are in control and you have the right to spend the money if you want, or if you want to take money out of the house, or if you want to change your mind because now you don't want it to go the way that you said, you can do that.
So, question, si m bati trust la, pou ni a mette tout bagay la don, mette tout bagay la don, est-ce que ça veut dire m pa ka dépenser l'argent? Est-ce que ça veut dire m pa gen accès à l'argent? Non, ou capable toujours gen accès avec l'argent, c'est compte lié, c'est l'argent lié, c'est ka ou lié, si vous gen pour tirer l'argent sur ta là, ou capable faire ça, ou capable changer li tout en vivant. Mais l'ordre, there's no changer, that's correct.
Yes, you can have somebody who you're the trustee and also the beneficiary. So when you create the trust, the person who created is usually going to be the trustee. And then when they are sick or they die, there's going to be a backup trustee called successor. They come in and be the trustee. But that backup person can also be the beneficiary, and that's okay.
No, I mean, it's good.
Well, there's really no limit to how many trustees you can have. You don't want to make it too complicated for them to make decisions. So you can have one or two people working together to make decisions, but you should also have backups. Just in case something happens to somebody else, there's someone else to step in.
So, li mande avec trustees yo, est-ce que trustee a capable aussi bénéficiaire? Oui, il est capable bénéficiaire là. Ça, moun nan ka créé, ka bâti trust et lui-même ka fait choix qui est ça mettre comme bénéficiaire. Il demande tout, est-ce qu'il y a une limite de combien de monde ou capable gagner comme trustee pour bénéficier? Il dit non, pas de limite, mais ou même pour qu'on pas mettre tout maman, marraine ou parrain ou tonton bien là-dedans parce que la vie fait plus difficile pour faire des décisions. Il y a des décisions qui sont obligées de faire pour limiter la plus bon pour pas gagner des nos apparentés. Although l'autre d'être là, on va connaître qui est la bataille, but faire plus simple pour nous qui restent pour pas gagner trop de temps.
You had a question again.
So, same thing, can you have unlimited beneficiaries? And if so, would it make more sense to pick one trustee and like in your will,
tell them what exactly you want them to do. They make a decision, and then the beneficiaries see the benefits.
So you're saying one person as the trustee, but multiple beneficiaries? Yes, and that's typically how it's done. They usually will pick one person to be the trustee, and then, the beneficiaries, it could be as many as you want, will say, okay, what percentage do they get of the total trust? Or are they getting specific things, like I want this house to go to this person, that house to go to that person? So you could break it up in percentages, or you could break it up in specific things that you want to give to specific people. But yes, that is the way to do it. You don't want to leave it to one person and tell that person, okay, give it to everyone else if they're not the trustee. So for instance, you don't want to say, I'm going to leave everything to my oldest child, then my oldest child will give it to their siblings. That's not how it works, because now you're creating tax issues for the oldest child. You want to say, okay, this person is the trustee, and I'm leaving it to my 4 kids, whatever it is.
So, li mande, si ou ka gen plusieurs bénéficiaires, although nan trust la, ou gen yon seul trustee ki nommé. Oui, li di pi souvent c'est ça qui fait. Ou gen yon trustee qui vin di, en cas que l'on mort, mais qui ça qui va le faire, mais qui ça, qui est-ce qui va nan bénéficiaire, ou même pour tout set pour dire, mais qui pourcentage il y a recevoir. Pour nous-mêmes qui achetons assurance depuis déjà, là, nous avons des bénéficiaires. Nous disons, ouais, ok, 50% pour tel monde, 50% pour tel monde, whatever it is. Trustee a là pour confirmer, mais ça quoi le faire. Il dit, si quand toi petit, ou pas ta supposé quitter toute bagaille dans mais toute décision dans même qui grand. Parce que vous dites, ok, nous avons toi petit, mais plus grand, vous toute bagaille. Et si plus grand décider, ma baille, 9% à ça, parce que je ne vais pas me donner. 10% à ça parce que je ne peux pas payer chez le bien, ou whatever it is. No. Ou tout arranger pourcentage à mettre un seul trustee, ça make sure que toute bagaille faite, j'en ai une décision pour le faire. Yes. You're welcome. Aaron. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, Aaron's like behind you.
What's the difference between will and trust?
Yeah, so both the will and the trust kind of do the same thing, where they say who your stuff goes to in the event something happens to you, if you pass away. Now, a will has to go through the court system, right? So a will is not private, it's a public document when it's filed in the court, and it has to take time, money, and also the court can make certain decisions that were not in your will, right? With a trust, does not go through the court system. It is private, the court has no say, right? And the people who are not benefiting from your trust don't have to know. So the only people who get to know what's going on is your trustee and your beneficiaries. With a will, the court informs anybody who could possibly receive from your estate, and therefore sometimes that creates conflict and trouble if you left somebody out or if you decided you didn't want someone to benefit.
Yo mande ki différence ki gen a trust avec testament, right? Trust là, again, c'est un bagage qui privé lié, qui pas un bagage qui obligé passer par chemin juge pour juge a dit l'homme mourir, même avec testament, c'est pour ça testament en fait. J'ai dit nous a mourir, n'importe monde qui te gen dette, qui te doit même là, vinn parler, vinn payer cause pour tirer l'argent pour besoin dans bien moun nan rete. Et si gon bagage qui pas inclus dans le testament pour y aller passer dans le chemin juge là, pour passer dans le chemin pour venir faire détermination pour vous. Je crois que ça sont des différents. Public là, pas obligé de connaître qui ça, qui veut se régler dans le trust là. Tout bagage qui est inclus dans le trust là, sont des qui liés, ou à bien trust qui a mon qui en charge pour distribuer ça, qui distribution qui est pour faire. C'est bon bagage qui va publier dans le public là pour dire, mettre encore pour nous recevoir, ou te quitter encore pour blanc, te quitter encore pour chose. Bagage ça, c'est bagage qui privé, l'homme. Mettez-le et puis tout bagage dans trust là. Mais testament, simplement testament, nous comptons depuis souvent, sont va obligé de passer par chemin légal pour y enforcer toutes sortes de métiers là-dedans. Okay? Hold on.
Did that answer?
Well, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay.
Fine. Do you have one? I understand.
Oh, I didn't know.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You want to?
For you or on you?
For you.
For
Yeah.
you. Okay. They're the beneficiary or
No.
your family's beneficiary? But I just want to make sure that, because you know there's a difference. There's a difference. Li mande nou si, pendant nan travay la, gen kompany, gen employé qui offre assurance. Ou capable gen assurance de vie nan travay la, pa travay la, est-ce qu'on capable inclure assurance de vie que ou gen nan travay la, nan trust la?
So yeah, so you can't change the insured, the owner of the policy, but you can make your trust the beneficiary of that policy. So anything that you have, you can either change the title on that thing. So for instance, your bank account has your name. You can open an account that has the trust name, right? And use that as being owned by the trust. And so if you don't want to do that, like sometimes people don't want to change their bank accounts because you use them all the time. You have so many things, coming out of it. You can just make the trust the beneficiary. Some banks do that. Your investment accounts, you can make the trust the beneficiary. Your life insurance, you can make the trust the beneficiary. So all of those things you can.
Réponse là, c'est ou capable mettre mais comme c'est pas ou même qui met assurance là, c'est travail là qui insure là, c'est travail là qui met assurance là, ou pas qu'à changer non mettre assurance là pour mettre comme trust là. So capable faire, c'est assigner bénéficiaire assurance là to trust là. Comme si instead of ces petits points qui bénéficient assurance qui gagne dans travail là, c'est trust là m'a mettre comme bénéficiaire puis l'argent ça allait mourir, il va rentrer dans trust là directement. Avec canet banque, depuis pas que non sous lui c'est au même qui mettre compte là, c'est au même qui mettre affaire, ou capable changer lui, mettre sous nom trust là. Il y a des gens qui ne peuvent pas faire ça parce que il y a des canet banque qui gagnent, ils font un peu de business là-dedans, un peu de transaction, ils ne peuvent pas changer, ils ne peuvent pas faire tout ça. So même gens, ils peuvent aller dans la banque, les banques qui acceptent pour nommer bénéficiaire. Contre si on va pas passer ou pour canet banque pas arrêter comme ça, c'est trust là où mettez comme bénéficiaire. Right? Perfect.
For that question,
That was another question. Oh, yeah.
sometimes when the job gives you the life insurance, you have to be at the job. If you die, it depends. You might not get the life insurance.
She might speak from insurance. I mean, from experience. From experience.
Well, we have insurance coming up, so he'll be able to talk about that.
Mais pour set up un autre bagage parce que si travail là on dit j'en fais ça ou pas donner l'argent it shouldn't happen but things happen so même pour les autres pour qu'on ait stabilité ou set up un autre bagage so we're going to go into that when we go I don't si gen bénéficiaire est-ce que vous capable discuter instruction qu'on te mette pour trust là. Est-ce que vous va dire non pas d'accord avec ça et plus la remboursé or whatever it is?
Yeah. So technically, yes, they could, but we usually put a language in the trust that says if you dispute what the trustee, the grantor, the creator of the trust has said, then you can lose your benefit from the trust. So that usually stops people from contesting.
So oui, li capable faire gen moun qui essaie faire ça mais gon langage qui aller dans trust là dans dossier qui dit sous contester sous vinn faire discussion pour tout pas d'accord ou capable forfait ou pas perdu toute portion pour là si c'est ça vous voulez.
You want to take the last question?
Is there another question?
One
last question. First opinion.
Did you still want to ask?
Fine.
So, let's say the person doesn't have an estate, they have life insurance policy, and they had a lot of credit. But does that the beneficiary have to keep that debt? Let's say the credit card people are calling them you.
Short answer, I know what you're asking. If there's a life insurance policy, do you have to pay debt? No, life insurance bypasses that, so you're not responsible for the debt.
Si gen debt, si gen life insurance, et vous bénéficiez de life insurance là, est-ce qu'on obligé de payer debt moun nan? Non. Assurance de vie a bypassé si passe tout bagage ça ou pas obligé de payer debt moun nan. Okay, so that's it.
I just wanted to say thank you everyone. There's a card that I have that's in the Faith Tatiana's folder. You can scan here. You can fill out your information if you want me to call you. And then also, if you want to just book a 15-minute call, you could do so by scanning the code.
Thank you. Again, you have her information if you guys need to talk to her. So now we are going to pass it over to the life insurance. It's going to be pretty of everything because it's about that you what the shit is going to be. You want to use the microphone? No. You speak Creole. I'm not translating it.
Not translated?
Nah, done. Okay. Yeah. This is both it in. I think it'll stay.
I'll put it on the corner.
I think it'll stay there.
Good?
Here, yes, can we put this on so we can hear you on?
Sure.
He speaks Creole, so I have to translate it.
So Creole in English or Creole English? English? All right. All right, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? I'm about to Tatiana qui organise l'événement ça. I think you guys can do better than that. So, in everybody's folder, dans le folder chaque one, est-ce que tout le monde peut recevoir un petit caille? Did everybody receive a house in their folder? Did everybody receive a house? Because this is the folder, this is the house that I'm going to use. It should say financial house. Did everybody receive it? Yeah. All right, so the house is going to look like this. It's going to say financial house. All right, so I'm going to save the questions for the end of the presentation. Sauvegarder question pour la fin. Et puis, si il y a des questions, nous sommes capables de poser des questions après. Is that all right? All right, so when we're teaching about financial literacy, on a parlé de éducation financière. Le premier bagage que nous donnons ici, c'est que one of the first things I like to say is that you have to build something called a house. If you are building a house from scratch, what is the first thing that you have to build? The roof or the foundation? It's a foundation. Why the foundation first? Because this is how the house is going to stand. So when it comes to finances, the first thing that you have to build is something called income replacement. Income replacement is a fancy word for life insurance. Assurance de vie non, en français, life insurance is called income replacement. What is life insurance supposed to do? Life insurance is supposed to do 4 things for a family. Number 1, if you die, first thing life insurance is supposed to do is eliminate your mortgage. That's number 1. Premier bagage que assurance de vie supposé faire, les supposé éliminer mortgage. That's number 1. Number 2, life insurance is supposed to eliminate your debt. If you are a parent, if you are somebody that's responsible, you're not supposed to leave debt to other people. So the second thing life insurance is supposed to do is eliminate your debt. Number 3, life insurance is supposed to send your children to college. And for people who don't know, university is $6,000. College is $50,000 per child. If you have a life insurance, your life insurance should be able to pay for your children's insurance, or for your children's college. And then lastly, life insurance is supposed to bury you. Those are the 4 things that life insurance is supposed to do. Your life insurance cannot do those 4 things. Someone get assurance de vie. Assurance soit pas qu'à payer caillou, il n'est pas éliminer dette, il n'est pas capable d'exprimer l'école, et ensuite, il n'est pas capable d'enterrer des assurances. So your insurance has to be able to do these 4 things. On the walls of the house, we also teach people that you have to eliminate your debt. And one of the best ways to eliminate your debt is by something called debt stacking. Now, what is debt stacking? Comment on est capable d'éliminer dette? So, par exemple, si vous gagnez une machine qui c'est $500 le mois, vous une machine ça. Si vous gagnez credit cards qui c'est $300, $600 que vous utilisez pour payer machine là, vous utilisez pour payer crédit card là, all right? So, il y a là $500 par mois à tout payer ça. And then unutilized guarantee debt, I don't know, that costs $100. 300 now, you can use it to pay for the 100. And that is how you can eliminate your debt. That's called debt stacking, all right? Now, someone quick, Kyla, emergency. You have to have something called an emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is when you have money saved for at least 1 year. So what is an example of an emergency fund? If you have an emergency, for some people, if you get pregnant and you're not working, you need to have 1 year's money already saved. Let's say you lose your job, you need to have at least 1 year's money saved. So in finances, we teach people that you need to have an emergency fund. On top of that house, we teach people that you have to have money for retirement. So you need to have something like a 401k or a Roth IRA. These are very good things to have for your retirement. I heard some people were asking questions about retirement. You need to have money for retirement. We teach people that you need to have money for a college fund. So a 429 plan is a good plan for college. These are things that you can have. And then on top of that house, we have goals and we have dreams. All right? So when it comes to finances, this is everything that you need for finances. Now, if I go like this, if I turn the house upside down, does this look like a house? Yes or no? What's wrong with the house? It's upside down. So this house represents a lot of houses in a lot of people's lives. What do most people do? Most people are putting, you're going to say, rêve d'abord, comme acheter caille, comme à l'école, etc. Même c'est ça qui feel the first goal. But the problem is, as time goes by, you don't want to debt, charger avec dette, et c'est assurance de vie, soit nous avons mauvais type d'assurance de vie, soit nous pas d'assurance de vie du tout, soit nous avons de assurance qui ne travaille seulement, ou si une maladie frappe, nous avons des chances de assurance de vie. So these are the things that happen when people don't build their house the right way. So what do we say? We say that the key to financial success is that everything starts with life insurance, and you have to build your house the way it's supposed to be. And when it comes to life insurance is supposed to be 10 times your income. So if you are making $50,000 a year, you need $500,000 of insurance. If you're making $100,000 a year, you need $1 million worth of insurance. And life insurance is supposed to help your family for 10 to 15 years. All right? So this is how you build your financial house. And I'll take a moment to answer some questions. L'économie capable de maison financière, maintenant quelques secondes pour répondre quelques questions. Does anybody have any questions? Question? Yeah. Yes.
Life insurance, policy planning, anything. And I'm the one who's like paying the policy and all of that stuff. What's the question?
Can you take out a policy?
Yeah, can I just take out a policy on my mother? Thank you.
Can you take out a policy on your mother? So it depends. Number one, your mother has to be healthy. All right, because, all right, so let me just say this. When people are getting insurance, you don't buy insurance. You apply for insurance. There's a big difference. When it comes to life insurance, first of all, you have to be in good health. And second of all, you have to be able to pay for it. So which means that when somebody's getting insurance, you put in something called an application. And when they're doing an application, they're going to check your medical history. Oftentimes, they can even send somebody to your house to do blood and urine, and that will qualify to see if that person can get insurance. But just because somebody applies, it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be approved. So to answer your question, you can apply for your parent as long as they are within the age where they can apply, because some companies, they cap you at what age a new person can apply. So it depends on their health, and it depends on the person's ability to pay for it. I think Frankie had a question. Sure.
Hi. So what's the difference between 401k and Roth?
What's the difference between 401k?
Or which one's better, I should say?
Well, it really depends on what it is that you want. So, for example, when you have a Roth IRA is like a mutual fund. That's what we call an investment. A lot of times people have 401k, it's just their job that's just matching a lot of times what they put in. But when you have a mutual fund, so let's say, for example, let's say I have a cereal bowl. And in the cereal bowl, you have the milk, you have the place, and this is your money. So when you put $50 inside of a mutual fund, you have different companies that are investing that money. You have Microsoft, you have Facebook, you have a whole bunch of. Now, when these stocks go up, what happens to your money? Your money goes up too. So which means that your money has the ability to grow faster. And not only that, mutual funds, they average about 10% per year. Since 1970 to 2025, average for mutual fund return has been about 10.2%. And so which means that a lot of times it can go a lot faster. Does that make sense to everybody? So personally speaking, I'm not going to tell you which one you should do, but I can just probably maybe speak from experience. It's probably a lot better to put your money inside of a mutual fund or something like a Roth IRA so that your money can grow quicker. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Matching your contribution.
Yeah.
It's
So that's a 401k you're talking about.
yes, that's it. So you're saying a mutual fund is better than if 401k?
I'm not saying that it's better, but what I'm saying is that maybe the return might be more satisfactory for you.
Okay.
You have to understand in finances, it's not always cookie cutter. Everybody's situation is different. So there are people that have a 401k and they also have a mutual fund. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that.
What about the risk?
Say that again?
What about the risk?
Involved in investing?
And the mutual fund, is the risk is higher than?
Okay, so when it comes to investing, there are people who are conservative investors, there are people who invest moderately, and there are people who invest aggressively.
Okay.
So obviously, you know that when you are investing aggressively, that means that there's going to be very high returns. But that can also mean that the destination can also be low as well. Now, here's the good thing when it comes to mutual funds. When it comes to mutual funds, the American economy is very strong. I can understand if your money was in just one place, then you have a lot of reason to be concerned. But when you have a lot of different companies that are investing your money, even if one company fails, in the United States of America, all 100 companies are not going to fail.
Okay.
So that's when mutual funds become safe. You understand? So it's with the market. That's pretty much how mutual funds go.
Okay, my question is, can I take a policy on someone without them knowing? And what's the maximum?
A life insurance policy, you mean?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
That's
so
what
now
I do.
let me give you the legal answer. Technically speaking, you cannot take a life insurance policy on somebody without them knowing.
Okay,
Legally, you cannot do that.
okay.
The person has to be aware that you're taking a life insurance policy. They have to give consent for that. Now, here's what can happen. There's a difference between a policy owner and the insured. Those are not the same thing. Somebody can be the owner of a life insurance policy, but they are not the insured. So, for example, my sister in the back with the earrings was asking, can I take a life insurance policy on my mother? And I said, the answer is yes, but it depends. So, for example, my sister, what's your name, ma'am? Iona can take a life insurance policy on her mother. She can be the owner of the account, which means that she can make decisions, she can pay for it, and she can also choose to no longer pay for it if she wants to. But the person who is insured is her mother. So in order for her mother to get insured with insurance, the mother has to say, yes, I am consenting for you to take my social, go into my medical history, and either approve me or disapprove me for this life insurance. So the person has to have consent, even if you're the one that's paying for it. If that makes sense.
Let's piggyback that because this may be a little dark, but there have been instances where people have taken out policies and other people for unfortunate circumstances with the intent of collecting, and something happens to that person. How is that person able to open up a policy on that person without them knowing?
Right. So for example, let's say it's a situation like Iona asked, where she would be taking a policy out on her mother. You know, a lot of us children who have done transactions for our parents, you know, growing up in a Haitian household, your mother will say, Ricardo, call AT&T for me. And then I want you to talk to them, or I want you to translate what they're saying. Okay, mom, what's your social? So I can tell you, I know my mom's social by heart. Because ever since I was 8 years old, my mother would be calling the companies and I would have to translate. So really, when it comes to insurance, as long as you know the person's social and date of birth, really, that's how that ends up happening. Now, for the unfortunate cases that you spoke about, this is where it gets kind of interesting. Anytime that somebody has a life insurance policy and you die before 2 years, so from year 0 to year 2, something called a contestability period. When it comes to suicide, there's also called a suicide clause. So, for example, if somebody takes a life insurance policy and they kill themselves within 2 years, the family is not going to get the money from that insurance because that's called a suicide clause. That's called insurance fraud. It's the same way if somebody takes a life insurance policy and you die within 2 years, that's called a contestability period. So the company has to now put out an investigation and find out, you just got this policy in 2022. You died in 2023. How the heck did that happen? So now they have to do an investigation to find out. So when it comes to cases, let's say for homicide, if the insurance company suspects that you are the beneficiary and you kill the insured just to take the money, guess what's going to happen? You as the beneficiary, you're not going to get the money. You're going to show number one, and number two, they're just not going to release the funds. So there's a lot of different factors that involves that kind of situation.
Okay.
All right? Yes.
You still do 10 times her income? Or
Okay, so now that's a very good question. Now, when it comes to life insurance, we take life insurance on what we call a needs basis. Now, in finance, there's something called the theory of decreasing responsibility. En créole, décroissante de responsabilité. What does that theory say? That theory says that when you are younger, you need a lot of life insurance. But when you're older, you shouldn't be thinking about life insurance. You should be thinking about how much retirement income that I have. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have Frankie and Melissa. They have very young children, and they have a mortgage. So if either of them were to die now, would that be catastrophic for their family, yes or no? It would be horrible for their family. That's why they need a lot of insurance right now. But as they are getting older, their children are also getting older, and what's happening to their mortgage? Their mortgage is the mortgage is going down. So at that point, an older person, they shouldn't be thinking about insurance too much. They should be thinking more of retirement income. Now, as it pertains to elderly people, when an elderly person is getting insurance, they're not doing it really for income replacement. They're doing it for burial. Why? Because they're older at that point. So let's say you as a grown man, if your mother dies, God forbid now, you're not replacing the income. You're just going to be getting something for burial. Now, let's say 30 years ago, when you were perhaps maybe 8 or 5 years old, if your mother had passed away then, that would have been a different situation because your mother at the time is your source of income. So you would be needing a policy to replace her income. Does that answer your question?
yeah, not my mom, hypothetically.
Hypothetically, whoever the case might be. All right, so if you're getting it for an elderly person, you need to understand that an elderly person, they don't need as much money as somebody that is a young parent in their 20s, 30s, 40s who's raising children. Does that make sense? Question?
Based on, being healthy. So what if somebody is unhealthy, with a chronic illness? What is an option for them?
What is an option for them?
Yeah, what is
So a few years ago, there was a lady that I met. She was at the time, I think, 62 years old. She wanted insurance, but she had heart issues. She had 2 stents in her heart, and she had a pacemaker. So automatically, I knew she wasn't going to be approved for the insurance. So what we did was We opened up a mutual fund for her. We opened up an emergency fund, and we opened up a Roth IRA. Because when it comes to mutual funds, you can leave that money for a beneficiary. So that was back in 2018. We're in 2025 now. This lady has about $300,000 in her mutual fund. So which means if she passes away, she'll be able to leave that 300 grand for her beneficiaries. So the alternative for somebody that doesn't qualify for insurance is that you can open up a mutual fund, you can put contributions that you're comfortable with, and you can leave that money for a beneficiary. I'm going to give you guys another story. There was a Haitian lady that I met, or that met me on Facebook. She got a life insurance policy with me. I think it was 2022. She was paying for the insurance normally, et cetera, et cetera. And after a certain amount of years, she started to stop paying for insurance. I called this lady one day. I said to her in Creole, I said, ma'am, you're going to lose your insurance. You know what the lady said to me? She said to me, Ricardo, let me call my friend. She said, Ricardo, let the insurance lapse. When I'm able to get it back, I'll get it back. I said, ma'am, no problem. She lost the insurance. Now, guess what ended up happening afterwards? A couple of months after she let the insurance lapse, she called me back. And she said, Ricardo, I have buried so many people in my family. Is there a way for me to get my insurance back? I said, probably. But how's your health now? She said, my health is okay. I said, are you sure your health is okay? She said, yes, my health is okay. I said, okay, let's reapply. So she applied. Her husband and 4 kids, they all applied. Guess what ended up happening? The husband and 4 kids, they got approved. She did not get it this time. Meanwhile, she was approved before. So what ended up happening between the 2 years that she was out of the company, she developed heart issues. And when it comes to insurance companies, when you have heart issues, they're afraid of you. They don't want to insure you at that point. So she's 38 years old, a mortgage, 4 kids, and she will never be able to apply for life insurance again. So that's why when you get life insurance, you cannot lapse it. You should not lapse it. Maybe you don't pay your phone for 1 month, who cares? But that money is your children's money. And that's one thing I'm going to say too. When us parents, we get life insurance, that's not your money. That's your child's money. That's your wife's money. Because even though we're paying it, guess who the beneficiary is? The beneficiary, as my lawyer said in the back, is the one that is benefiting from the proceeds. As a father, I'm paying the premium, but it's not my money. That's my children's money.
The amount of the policy.
So that the person doesn't lapse the policy? 100%, but it's not all companies that will give you that option. That's why some companies, like the one that we represent, one of the benefits from policy is that it's customizable. You can increase it, and as long as you're healthy, you can also increase it. That's the benefit. So that's very important. I'm going to take another question, and I'm going to go forward a little bit to explain the differences, because there's 2 types of insurance, and I want to make it clear on which one we're doing. Yes. Sure.
20. Nobody could hear me on this thing. Imagine you get a policy when you're 20 and you're healthy,
Yes.
right? And now you're 35 and you have a heart condition. Do you have, God forbid, do you have to now inform the life insurance that?
No. You don't have to. Okay, now to answer your question, I want to also add something. When you are buying insurance, the first question that you need to ask, not necessarily how much does the insurance cost. That's really irrelevant. You know what the question you should ask an agent? What is the payout percentage of your company? That is the real question to ask. So you're going to say, what's the payout percentage? Anyone ever go to high school or college? Anybody? Yes? You know every school has something called a graduation rate, correct? If the graduation rate is high, what kind of school is it? Good or bad school? It's a good school. If the graduation rate is low, is it a bad school? Some companies have a very low payout percentage, which means that if you die, your family only has maybe 50% chance to get the money. That's why you hear a lot of stories where somebody died and they didn't get the money. They had to go get a lawyer Because some companies, they don't have the money to pay out. So they'll say on your application, you said you had 5 fingers, but we found out that you had 6 fingers. So just for that, we're not going to pay out the money. That's why when you're looking for insurance, you need to ask your agent, what is your payout percentage? How often do you guys pay out if something were to happen? That's the real question to ask. All right? Yes, sir.
If I know it's not enough, can you roll it into like a new plan, or do you just keep the original plan and just get a second plan?
You can do a replacement. You can do a replacement. What I always tell people is if you have insurance already, don't cancel what you have so soon. Apply with the new company, and once we approve you, then you can cancel what you have. Because what will happen is if you cancel what you have too soon and we don't approve you, now you have no more insurance. So to answer your question, you can do something called a replacement.
I mean, I'm already used to like paying it, so would it make sense to just have 2 policies instead of canceling the first one?
You can, but let me go into this point, and I think it's going to make better sense to you. All right, now, guys, there are 2 types of life insurances out there. There's something called whole life, and there's something called term. Has anybody ever heard of those 2 types? There's something called whole life, and there's something called term. Now, let me explain how whole life works. All right, let me explain how whole life works. So with whole life insurance, this is the way whole life insurance works. All right, now when you have whole life insurance, let's say that you pay $100 a month for $100,000 of insurance, and there's something called cash value, things that will save money for you. Now, there's a few things that you have to know about whole life insurance. Number one, for the first 2 to 5 years that they're saving your money, they don't save anything for you for the first 2 to 5 years. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? How is that a bad thing? They're just paying money and they're not giving you access to it. So that's the first bad thing about whole life insurance. Number 2, if you do touch the money, it's considered to be a loan. So if I'm telling you that it's a loan, what in fact am I saying to you? What are you paying back? You're paying back your own money. And you know that when you pay back something, you have to pay back with what? You have to pay back with interest. So the interest is 5 to 8%. So the third part is if you die, all of the money that you have in your savings is going to go exactly back to the insurance company. So the company gets to keep all of your savings. That is the problem when it comes to whole life insurance. So what people should do is insurance that's separate from savings. So you should get an insurance policy, and you should also get an investment account. Because when you die, not only does the insurance money go to your family, but the investments also go to your family. That's the difference between the 2. That's why if you go online and you type in whole life insurance lawsuits, you're going to see that there's a ton of companies that are in court right now for selling this nonsense to people. But you're not supposed to sell life insurance as an investment vehicle. It's illegal for any agent to tell you that you can use your life insurance to send your kids to college, to buy a house. That's not what it's for. That's illegal when you do things like that. So you're supposed to get insurance and you can get investments on the side. The investments is your money. The life insurance is your children's money. It should have nothing to do with the other. That's the rule. I can't tell you term is the best way to go. All I can do is give you the black and the white, and then just kind of let you draw the conclusion. But I think you see where I'm going with this. Thank you. All right, so that's the difference between the 2. There's another type of insurance which is still whole life, something called IUL, or something called, I don't know if people have ever heard of IUL. That's or universal whole life insurance. They say that when you reach 65 years old, you don't have to pay life insurance anymore. That's not true. Let me explain to you what that does to you. So that type of whole life insurance, what they'll say is that when you reach 65 years old, you don't have to pay for the insurance anymore. It's what you don't know. Reach 65 years old, you're going to use to pay for the policy. They're going to use your savings to pay for your life insurance. So the money that they say is your money, they're going to use that money to pay for the insurance. Now, after the savings money is over, they're going to use the insurance money to pay for the policy. Now, insurance money is done, value saving is done, what's going to happen to the policy? There's no more insurance. And that's why Transamerica in 2013, they got sued for $200 million. And they had to pay that money out to the clients. If you go online, type in Transamerica on YouTube, Transamerica Universal Whole Life. You're going to see all about that lawsuit. Elderly people that lost their life insurance because they were told when they reach a certain age, they don't have to pay for insurance anymore. And nothing in America is free. Somebody has to pay for that insurance. All right? So that's the difference between the two. Okay, any other questions? Any questions at all? All right, so if there's anybody here that wants maybe one-on-one consultation, if you look at the folder that you got, you're going to see something that says Long Island Expansion. You can feel free to put your information on that form, and you can leave it on the back table or you can leave it up front. And if you have questions, I have no problem contacting you. I'll do a free consultation. I'll take a look at what you have. And if there's a way for me to help you, I will. And if there's no way, I'll tell you that you're better in what it is that you have, because we want to make sure that everybody is treated the way that they want to be treated. All right? You don't want to give somebody something just because you want to make money. You want to give somebody something that you know is appropriate for them. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so thank you very much. Unless anybody has any questions, I'll pass it back to Councilman.
Thank you, Ricardo.
No problem.
I know it's a lot, a lot of information. Yeah, but again, I wanted to just take a moment to thank our presenters so far to be empowering people to get together and one other time. But we created all they did not able to share this information, okay? The other two team members who come from the back did. Edwin, I just want to say Edwin, I'm going to about it too. I want to thank you guys for the time and your effort. If you have any questions, you have everyone's contact information in the folders. Si no quieres yo, si no yo call me, my phone number is in there, and I will contact with. For everyone on Zoom who was not able to receive a folder today, I will email all of the documents in the folders to be with some later in the evening. So I put it back all of their confirmation is in there, it's fine. And we look forward to what you're going to do this year. And then I look forward to all of the home buyers. I look forward to everyone securing their assets and buying life insurance. Okay? Because if you don't do it, my partner said, if you don't do it, it is the work. They will pay you by the minute. So you are getting on in, and that's how much you want to do how it works. So again, thank you again for all of your time. Please help yourself to the questions in the back. I'm going to go over this. Thank you.